That's cute, but the mic is hiding Raptor, unfortunately. Hi. Hi, y'all. We're here to discuss the campaign that we did right after Luca Trigger. So we switched things around a little bit. I became the dungeon master. You became the player. We switched from one thing that Akira Toriyama was involved in that affected his childhood a lot too, and that I hadn't experienced, to one that affected my childhood, which is Dragon Ball. And we switched up from D&D to Anima. Now, if you're an accountant, don't watch the rest of this video.
Honestly, the rest of you probably shouldn't either. This is cursed material. You'll be touched with the curse, and it's almost impossible to excise. So,
I mean, the story of the two campaigns that we're about to talk about is the story of me exercising all desire for anima out of myself. The first step is that you have to corrupt someone in the ways of anima by making them play with you while you're a dungeon master, which is what we did. The anima system is specifically made to emulate the mood of mangas, specifically shonens, and it's extremely complicated. It allows you to create kind of any character that you can imagine, and with very anime tropes. So like Goku was like the example that comes to mind whenever I think about a key technician.
yeah, but like, let's not front. Like, it's not that you can make any character you'd like. You can make any anime character you'd like.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely make Naruto. You can make Goku. You can make what's his name from Bleach.
Ichigo,
like
sure.
Ichigo for sure. Like, especially this game came out in like the early 2000s, so like those are, I would say, pretty like obvious things that they wanted was to be able to make those builds specifically. Like there should be a way to make Ichigo, and there is.
Yeah. But the game sucks for reasons I've already covered in another video on this channel. Now, let us be very clear that Anima is a terrible game. If you read those books, it's kind of like reading the Necronomicon or any of the books in the Cthulhu universe. You're cursed with terrible knowledge. And the appeal of the game, there's two, right? If you're a 16-year-old teenager and you like anime fan service illustrations, that was the primary motivator for me to buy these. And then it's the fact that the rules are so complicated and such a mess, but give you like, there's so many ways to break the game that sound like they would be fun to play, right?
Yeah. Like, I don't even know how many times like I was reading through some key technique or martial arts style and was like, okay, Simon, what does this like? What's your interpretation of this? I'd like to submit an interpretation of this, and like then we both open up 3 different books and consult exactly what the like martial arts book text says about something, and then we also look at the flavor text from the original game book because they have different rules.
Yeah, we had to make decisions on which rules to apply between my physical books that are in French and my anime books that are in English on the computer, because there's some text that is very different. Your build doesn't work.
Yes, that's true. My build doesn't work in English. Just straight up, the build that I ended up going with for Goku would not work in an English version of the text, or it was Gohan. But like, it depended on the fact that for some reason, in only the French translation, these books were originally written in Spanish. In only the French translation, it was cheaper for they had less requirements for the advanced form of the advanced martial arts. Like in English and Spanish, you had to know all 3 basic levels to learn.
Okay, we're moving up.
We're getting too far.
Yeah.
Point is, it only worked in French because the translation was just wrong for all of those items.
Yes.
In the same way.
So, it can be appealing because once you have read the books enough, you know you can make a level 1 firing squad of 50 people with 1 character by using the key clones, right? You become a 1-person firing squad, a 1-person battalion or something like that. You can, if you look through the forums and you find the post that somebody made, you can make a level 1 character where you tell your dungeon master, hey, I followed all of the rules. Can I cast these spells like a month before the campaign happens? And if the DM says yes, that player is now whatever level they want to be. And they have...
Yeah, and a god.
And a god. There's a build that does that, right? It's bad game design, but it's fun to make it work despite the terrible game design. Like, shit-talking Anima was like 50% of the appeal of this campaign, I think.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. Just the more that I learned, the more I engaged, the more I was able to actually engage into talking this game. There's not that many source books. It's more than 1, which is more than a lot of indie, non-English language, at least originating source books, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially for not being either Pathfinder or D&D. But even that's only 4 or 5 books. You have all of them, right?
Yep.
So I
even have some that never got translated into English. Good for y'all. They're all bad. Anyways.
They're all bad. But the point here being that there's enough to really dig your teeth into and start busting out the spreadsheets and min-maxing to hell and back. And it's limited enough in scope that the scope is big, don't get me wrong, but once you sort of have learned the basics of how to construct something good, you realize how few actual viable builds there are.
Oh, I mean, running multiplayer, running Anima for outside of a solo campaign is an exercise in madness, because you trying to balance encounters depending on whether the player knows how to build a powerful character and or doesn't is super hard.
I believe I pitched a build that I made in our campaign, which I placed at level 15. I put against you when you were level 8, and you wiped the floor with that martial artist as a summoner.
Yeah, that's the next campaign. So,
yeah, I know, but yeah, to make the point that basically a level 15 player character versus a level 8 player character could be completely out of balance, but not how you'd expect, because power scaling doesn't scale correctly, not at all. It's really just not viable as a table.
But the power scaling being weird is one of the reasons that makes it a good fit to play the Dragon Ball campaign, because as the as the campaign continues, as the story of Dragon Ball continues, it starts to become harder and harder to keep track, like who's at what level. And when they introduced the
power scanners.
I think they're called scouters. When they introduced the scouters and the power levels, you start to have actual numbers, and it makes no sense. It's really funny, but yeah. So the way that we started pretty much exactly like in the manga. I suggested a build for Frey because he didn't know Anima yet, and I was like, oh, here's how I would do it. I suggest that you never learn any skills outside of combat and just stockpile your points. Don't spend them until you become a Super Saiyan, and then put all of the points that would have gone to skills to become a super psychic.
Which is essentially what I did. The function of the build basically was because Anima has point spending limitations depending on type. So I was continuously investing in attack and block as much as possible. A minimum of skills in order to eventually be able to take the martial arts I wanted.
Yeah, but the skill requirements for the martial arts is hilarious.
But as the least that I possibly could, and then literally every other point just banking and waiting until I eventually multi-class into something else, so I got a discount on buying all of my psychic skills. That was what I did, and I'll tell you, the power scaling honestly felt pretty reasonable when I was only spending 60% of my, or 50% really of my level every turn, and then I suddenly turned into a psychic, which was our equivalency of being able to become a Super Saiyan. And it felt like becoming a Super Saiyan, I'll tell you that.
I was like, you have to, you can't take psychic powers yet. You have to wait until the moment where, you become the first Super Saiyan. Not much of, there's 4 or 5 major differences in the way that the story went on. We started the typical he's living in the mountains. He's been told to be nice to girls. He super strong for and has a tail. All of that. You even attacked the car when I with the description that I was doing of a large insect. And
I immediately knew that this was a car, but I also knew that would be so funny.
Yeah. So you were already quite so in the character. We'd already talked about Goku's head injury, and his relatively low intelligence score. So you were every time I put you in a situation, you kind of made the same choices that the character did in the manga without me sort of pushing you towards it.
With notable exceptions. I feel like the fact that I was able to pretty closely follow the script made the few deviations even more yeah.
Oh yeah. So most of what I changed about the beginning is I made it so that all of the pervert old men were really into cars instead. All of the times there would be a porn magazine, it would be a a sports car magazine instead. And it makes sense because when they're sent out to find lunch, she's on a really cool motorcycle, like a really nice model of a one-wheel motorcycle where you like, actually it's more like a ball, I think. It's great. It looks gorgeous. So yeah, that was the big change. So
No, I mean, we did obviously keep Bulma's name despite it being what it is. We kept Chi-Chi's name despite it being what it is.
I'm not sure I looked it up.
Bulma means panties.
Yeah.
Chi-Chi's boobs.
Yeah. Like all of the characters from Bulma's family are like underwear. Like you never got to meet Trunks, which is her son from the future, because we ended the campaign at the end of the Frieza arc. So yeah, like normal beginnings. You beat a giant boar. At the very start, so we had you leveling up whenever you at the start interacted with a master that like taught you something important and powerful. Became close to death because you're a Super Saiyan, and you leveled up every time we had a time skip, basically. We started you off at level 2, and then you because copying other people's techniques is cheaper than making your own techniques. I designed all of the techniques and gave them to him one by one by way of, oh, this is like the big bear that's your second. Okay, you killed the pterodactyl exactly the same way by like extending your staff, stabbing, like hitting it really hard. The bear used the rock paper scissor technique on you, and you used it on him and killed him. So like I was designing techniques that would kind of like fit in with each other, and I think I did a very good job.
No, I would definitely agree with that. You did a great job designing those techniques. Which kids, if for some godforsaken reason you have picked up Anima, you are reading through it, you are now thinking about building a martial artist, don't take key imitation unless you have talked with your GM, and they will be not just playing martial artists, not just playing key technicians, but willing to design their own techniques, because the techniques in the book suck.
We can't start giving advice on how other people should run their anime campaigns because we'll be here.
Okay, fair enough. Just a quick note. That only key imitation only works in a very specific circumstance, and never take it otherwise.
And like it makes sense because Goku is constantly like borrowing other people's techniques in manga. So yeah, like you're getting the techniques that other people refined and kind of like adding them to your toolkit. The fight with Yamcha went pretty much the same way. You got defeated. I think Yamcha is the only character who, apart from Frieza, who defeated you in combat in the whole campaign.
Really?
And then Bulma arriving and him becoming extremely shy was just like in the manga, how you got away from that situation.
I learned Wolfang Fist there, which had an outsized impact on our game. My understanding is that it doesn't show up that often in the manga or anime.
Oh, Goku uses it once during or like twice from memory.
And versus I was using it basically at least once per fight.
Yes. Like, Wolfing Fist, Yamcha's technique ended up being more of a staple than the Kamehameha.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
In your campaign.
Honestly, I was barely using Kamehameha.
Yeah, because it's like Rock, Paper, Fist
Was damage multiplier.
It multiplies your damage by 2. Wolfang Fist was like, you do 6 attacks now.
Which is really good.
Yeah, like, instead of doing just 1 attack this turn, you're doing 6. Congratulations. And then the Kamehameha was like a ranged attack, but if you could combine them basically to have like, you do a big Kamehameha by multiplying the damage.
And then do 6 of them.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, you could only do 1 still, but like, point being.
I think you leveled up again once you found Master Roshi. Or maybe it was when Master Roshi showed you the Kamehameha at the mountain.
Yeah. He wasn't like my master yet, but I did run into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another big change that we did was that characters, women weren't going around in.
You mean you don't find dinosaurs in a bikini all the time?
No.
That's not your Tuesday?
No. With a helmet whose head, like sharp part can be detached and used as a boomerang. No, I don't do that.
I mean, that's just the fit, right? Like, that's just the go-to.
So like, I was getting images from the manga to show to Frey the different, like, what things look like without having to describe them too much. And like, I had to crop a lot of pictures to like.
Why does this picture of a dinosaur not have the front of the dinosaur's face? That's a weird crop location. Huh, I wonder who's wearing underwear.
Yeah. So like that was the other big change. Let's see. The whole first arc of like gathering the Dragon Balls happens like smooth sailing exactly, more or less the way that it was meant to, like, that it happened for Goku. There was no way you would have come up with the idea of sending the Rapid Gang to the moon, right? Of climbing on your staff and going all the way up to the moon. So at that point, I was like, okay, you can choose to take it or leave it. I'm going to tell you what happens in the manga, and if you want to, you can go, like, you can do the same thing, but you're not gonna think about it on your own.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna tell you, and then he did, which means that later, Master Roshi killed the Rabbit Gang.
Yep.
Because they were still on the moon when he blew it up. Anyways, and then you get to like the dragon who's answering wishes before Oolong does. Which means you get a chance to formulate your own wish, because like you'd been fighting like really efficiently in that fight, and
so I mean, what would Goku wish for if he gets to the Dragon Balls first, especially in like a very, very early arc? I wish for my grandfather back.
Yep.
It works for approximately 30 seconds.
Yeah. That was a glorious moment. I rolled with it because I knew that he was about to transform into a giant ape for the first time, and I got you to play. Like, did I got you to play with the stat sets, with the stat block of like an Iron Golem, and I was like, cool. Now I'm gonna be playing the rest of your team and your dad, and we see how this fight turns out. And as a giant monkey, you killed your grandpa.
Yep.
Yeah. It was tragic.
Grandpa was the big threat. He was the big stop.
And then Yamcha managed to cut your tail off, I believe. Yes. So you reverted back.
Yeah,
and
then Grandpa was able to be like, that's the target, I'm going to distract it.
Yeah. The grandpa, as he's dying, leaves a message behind for him, and like dies and is buried by the time that you regain consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And I have no idea.
Yeah, like we kept the Goku doesn't know that he's the giant monkey. I think even longer than the.
At least right now, I can't remember off the top of my head at what point that gets revealed.
Yeah.
But like, it is a traumatizing moment because this Goku has now accidentally killed his grandfather twice.
Yeah, and like both times the people around you tell you, it was a giant monkey that arrived in the full moon. Sucks, and then they just don't tell you that you have a werewolf style problem on your hands. That's so irresponsible from Yamcha and Oolong and
honestly Grandpa too.
Yeah, I mean
he had told me not to go out on full moons. He clearly figured something out at some point.
Yes. And then, before he could let you know, you killed him.
Well, that doesn't sound right. I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, like,
yeah, before you told me why I killed him, yeah, that's what you meant. Okay.
Yes. I mean, you know, when you're already dying and your kid just turned back, you might
not want to put that on their conscience.
Yeah, exactly. I also edited out all of the black caricatures of black people that are rather present towards the start, and after that it's the training with Master Roshi and Krillin, and differences were like really starting to pop up because of your second time of grieving for your grandpa coming around. Krillin, who I was playing as an asshole because he starts off as an asshole, was like really hurting you because like by being an asshole while you were in mourning. And we play all of the scenes. You managed to like get lunch, introduce her in the story, and when the time skip of and like a few months pass and the training is done came, what happened is you told me like I don't know what could possibly happen in the time skip that would make me like this guy and be friends with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I presented it. I don't know if we were using like the star and wish system quite the same way, because I know it's normally like GM's 2 players, or is it the other way around? Regardless, I was like, my wish is for you to give me a reason to be friends with this guy, because right now time skip ends and we're still ops.
Yep. And that's when I remembered I'd watch one episode of Dragon Ball Super, which had a premise that would work really well with resolving your conflict with Krillin, which was when they're sent to a haunted island to get herbs of immortality for Master Roshi to keep on living, and the guardians of this place are your worst fears. But this time around, it wasn't Krillin who was afraid, like in the manga. It was you being like haunted by the giant monkey. You tried to get out with your with the flying cloud, and oh yeah, the flying cloud was really good for you. Never mind. And yeah, like Krillin was the one who talked you into like facing your fears at the end, and that kind of like Krillin learned about your trauma in the context from you having to tell him about your fears, and then yeah, he stopped being an asshole for after that. So that's how we resolved that.
Which unfortunately meant that Krillin proceeded to join his like canonical counterpart in essentially being downgraded to the guy that dies first. Because once they stop antagonizing each other and they're just best friends, all he is a way to set the stakes. All right.
Yes. And so we come to the first Tenkaichi Budokai. I think like we kind of had a blast because fighting with Anima is somewhat fun.
It's so like number crunchy that it becomes easy to forget like to describe what's happening.
Yeah.
You're just like, I use this technique, and to do so I'm gonna have to take these, like it's a plus 40 and then a minus 15, so I'm at a 276 base value. I rolled 97, so I re-roll, and then that's a 33, so I re-roll because of my special Elon ability, and then so
Okay,
this is what
alright.
yeah.
Yeah.
Point is complicated,
Like,
and it, by the time you finish rolling your numbers, you're like, okay, sorry, what did I do?
but because like you were using a lot of the game mechanics because like you were using special attacks like mobilization, tripping people, disarming them, and so you like the different maneuvers that you were using and the different techniques that you were using were describing a very specific fighting style, like non-lethal, and it's sometimes hard to do non-lethal in Anima. You can say that you're trying to do non-lethal damage, and even when you take the penalty, you might still kill them.
Other times, it's incredibly easy.
Yes. We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
So yeah, I threw at you like here's a like first round a level 1 build, second round a level 2 like monster or like NPC stat block, and so on and so forth. And then in the finals, I had. Did I start having you?
Control the fighters.
Yeah, control one fighter every time.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I was Krillin against the Stinky Monster, and I was Yamcha.
No. Against Microbe, like because that's the very first fight. We hadn't come up with the idea yet, but I described the fight to you, and you came up with the idea by yourself. Wait a second, Krillin, you're about to lose, but you don't have a nose. And like I was so proud of you for in that moment, cause like you like the same beat, right? The same that like you were fitting with this character really well. And after that, at some point in one of the Tenkaichi Budokai, we started like every single match you would control one character on, and I would control the other. And so like, I would always be, I think, the heel.
Yeah.
Like whoever the heel is in that fight, whoever the opposition to like Goku and Goku's friends is in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, Goku is basically the definition of a babyface. So.
Yeah. I replaced two of the characters from the tournament with other characters.
That's right. You put Man Wolf in early. I remember. I think this was here.
No.
No.
No. Because it needs to be the tournament after Master Roshi blows up the moon.
Yeah, right,
So,
right. It's a different substitution. Yes.
yes.
But things do mostly progress. Like obviously you have a little different matchups. But for the most part, it's about the same as I recall.
Yeah. We had you fight Krillin. We had you use Krillin's stat block to fight Master Roshi, I think.
Yeah, I think that was by that point we were actually doing that.
And then during the finals, oh man. The stat block I had was like very decent for like doing exactly what happened in the manga. So like destroying the moon. I fudged some numbers there, and I had you transform into the gorilla after a critical that should have knocked you unconscious, but you saw the moon right on top, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of all of that, I was like, wait a sec, why have I, in my entire life, never realized the Rabbit Gang is still on the moon? Master Roshi manslaughters 3 characters in like...
In fairness, he had no reason to believe that they were there, and he was acting to directly save the lives of others.
That's true.
Once again, at most manslaughter, I think he would get off. I don't think anyone would actually... Like, he might be brought to trial, but I think the jury's going to find him not guilty.
If anything, Goku for, like, sequestering them there for crimes.
I mean, well, I guess that is extrajudicial punishment, so...
Yeah.
Say what you want.
Goku isn't pro-prison, but he will put you on the moon.
Exile.
So yeah, did you win?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I don't think I technically won until the next one.
Yeah, and then you never lost again.
I did get the Hephaestus crest from Master Roshi at this point, which I don't know if that's an Anima item or...
It is a purely Anima item,
okay,
but...
cool. That thing was great.
You got it there?
I thought so, because Master Roshi gave it to me after that, or maybe it wasn't too long after that point, I think. Maybe it was the next Tenkaichi.
It was a magical object I was using to represent the Kamehameha in a way that was much more simple. Anyways, the yes, Master Roshi did you. I think as Goku, you immediately realized it was Master Roshi because you had ki detection.
Yeah.
You were like, you can recognize people by their chi, like you've taken that power. So it wasn't a mystery at all at any point.
Just oh no, he had ki
concealment, that's right.
I tried, it was just weird that it didn't seem like he had any ki.
Yeah, he looked like he was an object as far as like ki flow. That's right. Which,
if this is not someone who is a ki technician, then they should just have actually a pretty kind of average amount of ki, especially as like a physical fighter. So this is definitely a ki technician who's using ki concealment.
Yeah.
So like,
That's right. I remember that now.
yeah.
And then he has a ton of money, and then he loses all of that money feeding you after the tournament.
It takes me out to dinner.
Yeah.
Always a mistake.
After that, it's the Red Ribbon arc, which had, I think, one of the biggest departures. First off,
I know what I'm thinking when I think of biggest departures, and I know what you're thinking when you're thinking of biggest departures, and I know it's not the same thing.
okay, you're thinking of Roby the Robot surviving. And,
Yes.
So, Roby the Robot in the manga doesn't even get a name.
Yeah.
Right? He's the he's the plane driver.
That takes me to the South Pole. Yeah.
That takes you, to the cold region, and dies in a crash immediately.
Yeah, like freezes up in the cold weather and is unable to land the plane.
Yeah, and like goes down with the plane, but because he was a Capsule Corp product, and you knew you could press the button to make him disappear. Did you even keep the plane?
I think so, yeah. I just put both of them in the capsules and then used floating via key.
Yeah, you used weight elimination.
Yeah. Basically feather fall.
And so it was one of the things where it was if Goku had been just a little smarter in that moment, he could have done this. It was one of those moments of Frey will because you didn't know what you were supposed to do or not to do. It was incredible that so many of the choices had aligned so far.
I think I actually remember you left that one on a cliffhanger. The robot turns and is just I can't land the plane.
My arms are frozen.
And your wish for me was what are you gonna do? And I was just I'm gonna put everything in their capsules and then float down. What do you mean? What am I gonna do?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do the obvious thing.
Yeah,
Isn't that what Goku does? This feels way too obvious.
And Roby the Robot goes on to have, quite a life.
He does. He's my best friend, truly. Move over, Krillin.
He was your driver, and then your therapist, and then finally the hero who made it possible for Frieza to be taken down.
And now we're really getting ahead of ourselves.
Roby the Robot was an MVP, but
unnamed in manga.
Yeah. Okay, you go to the South Pole. I have you fight the ninja, the Terminator reference, and Cyborg 18. We did Cyborg 18 slightly differently. He thought he was going in for a gender affirmation surgery when he signed with the Red Ribbon Army and got made into a cyborg. And that's the only change that we did, but it was it made the character gave that character hey, Frankie had a life before getting kidnapped by the Red Ribbon Army, or being before he was made into a cyborg. You gather the Dragon Balls, and then when it comes time to fight Commander Blue, I accidentally win. Because I've been putting it's the fight against the big robots, the fight against the giant octopus, and in Anima you have a limited number of key points. They regenerate
slowly.
o-
Slowly.
over the course of an hour, you usually got everything back.
If I'm just sitting there meditating.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yes. And so like chaining fights one after the other, it was like, like he was throwing his techniques out because he was facing like big like opponents with big images. And so when we get to the Commander Blue fight, Commander Blue wins.
Like, to be clear, I don't think I could have won those fights without using those key techniques. Like, it wasn't just a question of like, oh, this is a big bad. It was just there was a lack of balancing.
Yeah, and because balancing in anime is hard.
Yeah,
and
it's hard. It's so hard. I understand. I understand. All too well.
So Frey forgave me, and I forgave myself as well because I came up with a beautiful idea. What would Commander Blue do in this situation, right? He's got an unconscious Goku. He's got a Dragon Ball. He's got... you were able to like get Bulma to hold him off long enough for Bulma to escape. And I was thinking, well, it's the Red Ribbon Army. And Dr. Gyro is already like experimenting and making cyborgs because Cyborg 18 is a thing. So he'd probably want strong bodies, like strong people that are unconscious and that can be surgically made into a cyborg.
And if they're a little dumb, well, if anything, that should make things easier.
Yeah. Krillin was present, and I also got Krillin unconscious. So the next thing that happens for Frey is I tell him parts of his mind are being sequestered from each other. Something is controlling your mind, and you don't have access to your senses. You don't sense what's around you. This is another part of your brain is doing that and making those decisions. You're just going to play for a little bit Goku's fighting spirit and like the
like combat instincts, yeah.
Combat instincts, right? And like as the fight progresses, you're like, well, I could fight better if I if I could detect the key of this enemy. If I could detect when they're about to use a technique, when they're accumulating and stuff like this.
And because it's combat instincts, that has to be what is mechanically controlling a key. And if you're able to mechanically control the key, then you can use it to detect key. Like, it just made sense that was a thing that I was able to use.
Yeah, so you started convincing your implants, the cyborg part of the brain, that you needed more and more context and control in order to be able to fight as efficiently as it was asking you. And so you were you got the ability, so you were fighting Yamcha, right?
Yeah.
You got the ability to sense ki, but you didn't know whose ki it was. You couldn't recognize who it was, and you still didn't have access to your eyes, like the cyborg brain was doing that. And so we start to do the rolls, and you're like, all right, make another defense roll, another defense roll, another defense roll, and he's like, 6 attacks. Who could possibly be doing 6 attacks on me? And that's when you start being like, well, my fighting style is most efficient when it's non-lethal, because I do tripping maneuvers and stuff like this. And so you purposefully started to take penalties to not hurt Yamcha but because it like but because it made sense with your build, you were able to like basically stall for time until Bulma used the computer terminal to like wake you up. You wake up, you're in the basement of the general headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army. So like you've skipped all of Tao Pei Pei and the tower, all of that stuff. But
Though we do eventually get back to Tao Pei Pei.
yeah, we circle back.
Tao Pei Pei also, it has, I think, way more relevance in our game. Because
Yes, yeah, and got fully redeemed as a character. We'll get there. So the so basically, what happened is Bulma, having escaped, she grabbed Yamcha and Master Roshi and other fighters, and goes to the Red Ribbon General Headquarters, which is exactly what happens in the manga. To some degree, they infiltrate. Yamcha is strong enough to like get them through like just normal soldiers with guns. Goku is able to like take a hit from a gun, no problem. Yamcha can probably like do that, and but you like wounded him. Not to the end of the fight, so it couldn't really count as a real victory in your books.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
No, he came into the fight already somewhat wounded.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You had said that like the first thing that I knew about this person was that like it seemed like they were already fighting injured.
Yeah.
And like basically making it much more likely that I would accidentally kill Yamcha.
Yeah.
And like I avoid doing that, but he is still very injured, especially because I did fight him also.
Yeah. And so after that, we do our first Hordes battle, where I used the
mass combat
rules to represent you fighting the army. I remember.
Oh, that's not true. I think we did mass combat rules when Lunch showed up against the cops.
No.
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 No, those were individual. That doesn't sound right.
Not that I remember. That goes pretty much exactly the way that it does in the manga. You find out that the Supreme Leader wants to use the Dragon Balls to be tall so that he can talk with girls. Then he gets shot by his second in command, who fights you with a giant robot, and you won. I don't know if you kicked a missile into a mountain like Goku did.
Do not believe I did.
But yeah, it was fun. And then it's like, well, I did give you some like the stats of the machine from Anima to represent your cyborg stuff. So that was a tiny boost to represent that.
Generally speaking, a tiny boost, but because like every time you were attacked by a type of weapon, you counted them, and like it gave you a bonus against like when you defended against that type of weapon again, and then you had a horde all fire guns at me.
So you became like very resistant to guns.
Yeah, like from that moment on, I was basically immune to bullet fire.
So then you go to the tower. Everything with Tao Pei Pei happens almost the same, except that you get there on... Okay, first, they weren't caricatures of Native Americans. I got other images to represent those two, the two people who live at the bottom of the tower. You got there before... when we started the fight and you saved the dad from getting skewered by Tao Pei Pei, you get defeated, like in the manga, but your Dragon Ball saved you. He leaves for a day. You go up the tower, and you train there. I think like beat for beat. But then you don't kick a grenade into Tao Pei Pei, so he doesn't become. So he doesn't like look like he's dead. And it's no wait.
I think I just used non-lethal damage and knock him out.
Yeah, exactly. Like he throws a grenade and he throws a grenade at Goku in the manga, and Goku like kicks it as
Back
far
at him,
away
yeah.
as far away as he can, which is like directly at Tao Pei Pei. But yeah, and so now we've got all of the Dragon Balls, and you didn't have to wish the civilian back to life. So I don't remember what did you wish for?
That's a good question. It wasn't my grandfather again, was it?
No, because your grandfather stayed dead.
No, was this the redeem everybody that was hunting for the Dragon Balls wish?
Yep, that's the Pilaf gang has the last Dragon Ball at this time. So you go, you find them, you do non-lethal, and I think that you were unconscious when they made the wish in your stead.
So I don't know the exact terms, but no. Like I think just like we all discussed what we wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And
with like Yamcha, Bulma,
but like
Krillin.
I was like wording probably not Goku's thing. I'm gonna trust Bulma to definitely do the exact right thing here.
Yeah, to use the wish for the correct thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you it was also I don't know if that was when you found out you can't be brought back to life by the Dragon Balls more than a certain number of times.
Doesn't that only apply to because there's two different dragons?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. This was a little more important than
and
like
so I'm thinking like, okay, cool. What does Bulma wish in this arc? Like she got a girl, she got a boyfriend, which was her initial wish, and so I'm like, okay, what would they decide to do? And they decide to redeem anyone who was bad, who was hunting for the Dragon Balls, right? So like reform Tao Pei Pei into a defender, reform the Pilaf gang into I don't think we ever saw them again.
yeah, not really.
And in that moment, I had a spark of genius. I was like, well, what if they described to Goku that like black fog came from where the unconscious Tao Pei Pei and the unconscious other one was the Pilaf gang and all of the members of the Red Ribbon Army, and gathered and swirled into the Dragon Balls. That never happens in Dragon Ball, but basically I was making it so that like the evil that was being taken out of them was stored in the Dragon Balls, so that later, when Piccolo would die and the Dragon Balls would be destroyed, everybody who'd been redeemed and made nice would become evil again. So like, I was pretty proud of myself for like thinking ahead and like describing that black mist. And then time skip.
Yeah.
And second Tenkaichi Budokai, pretty much goes like the whole tournament happens like exactly like in the mangas.
Yeah.
And then the Piccolo Demon Lord arc that follows immediately after. So like Krillin dies, and it more or less happens the same way. I do remember that you were to a point where when you had time to accumulate your ki before a fight, you were an absolute menace because the Piccolo fight was over like that.
Like I knew where I was going and how long I had to get there, and so I was able to accumulate all of my ki as I was coming up, and I showed up all the way ready.
And you Kamehameha like.
And then Wolfine fisted.
Yeah, like all of your techniques and
it was launch everything all at once, and it did not take very long after that.
And so like. And Piccolo, he had two forms, right? Because he goes back to being like old when you hit him enough. So he had like a martial artist and then a summoner, which made sense because he was because he could make the eggs and everything. Even with two character sheets, you kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And partially to blame are the dice,
the D100s, you got me these, I want to say for, I don't remember if it was like the last Christmas that we did or if it was Hanukkah, but either way.
They're gold and orange, so they're very Dragon Ball themed, but basically those have rolled so good for you.
Yeah, we had our dog. Bless them. Well, I had our dog.
Okay, we're getting off track.
No, this is important because these dice are insanely lucky.
Yeah. Second time skip. Piccolo grows up. You go on roam around the world for a while training, and then it's Tenkaichi Budokai again, where Piccolo's kid shows up, Chi-Chi shows up, and I think we did it in a more wholesome way than Goku,
So the way that the Chi-Chi at the end of our interaction as children is like, I don't remember what the exact wording was, but we sort
promise we'll hold hands when we're older.
Yeah, it was something like that, and she takes this to mean okay, we're gonna get married, and runs back and tells her dad about it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, bet.
Yeah, because you had no idea, you were playing as very non-conscious of gender, but
my gender is fight.
Yes. And gender roles, and so after the Tenkaichi Budokai arc, I remember you wrote a fan fiction of Goku getting a job and
I kept I was trying to make it to a job interview and kept getting sidetracked helping people, and so by the time I showed up to the job interview I was covered in mud and just completely don't get a job,
and your resume is yes, I fought in those martial arts tournaments.
Terrible pencil handwriting, I'm sure, on it too, and I this is for sure not the first time that I have failed a job interview, and I go home and hang dog, I don't know how to do it. I'm this I can run a farm pretty okay. Like, I kept a home with me and my grandfather for however long, and then lived on my own. Like, I can cook, I can hunt, I can clean, I can like keep a place more or less running, but like operating within normal society as a breadwinner is completely foreign.
And you didn't have the love of the fights that Goku has in the manga, and so you because Goku,
Yeah, I sort of ended up playing Goku as a little bit more of like I mean, not fully a pacifist, but like
doesn't go out of his way to
enjoys
fight.
fighting. Definitely did keep going back to Yamcha for the rematch. That's really the most like legal fight that I ever got though. Except like fighting's fun, and like defending people is good, and helping girls is important. But beyond that, if it feels good, it's good, and if it's not, it's not. So anyway, Chi-Chi is the main breadwinner of our family by like she's competing in the tournament circuit, and like I'm basically like her trainer at home, so I'm still getting fights in. Like we're a decent match for each other, more or less, at this point in time. Like I probably could beat her in an all-out brawl again, but like we don't need to do that, and we're just working on improving each other because we're in a loving relationship.
Yep.
And she's out there kicking ass, and I am just at home being a like present and loving father for our son.
Yep. And Roby,
wearing a maid uniform.
And Roby drives you around.
Yes, I never learned how to drive.
You never learn how to drive. But when you're transporting the kid, and when you talk to Roby while he's driving you, he gives very simplistic answers that you that help you have those big revelations.
Yeah, he's my therapist.
He's
and
your
Bulma's
therapist.
just like, oh, he's treating. This is a different fanfic. I wrote a lot of fanfic for this
Yeah.
because this was just too fun of a time skip to just glaze over. But like, Bulma like shows back up and is like, oh, he's using this robot for therapy. I can make this robot better at therapy.
Yeah.
And improves the robot, and then like next time she sees me, I'm in tears. Like, someone did something to Roby. He's speaking a language I don't understand.
And so she removed the implants. She removed the upgrades. I really loved those those moments of the story when like your interpretation of Goku made him a better husband, a better father. Like it was you were improving the character in a way that like made me feel more attached to Goku than that's like I grew up with.
Because that's the thing, that like Goku is a really good shonen protagonist.
Yeah.
And not really a great person all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he's down to fight always, and it just so happens that he's fighting on the side of good, but it's mostly a coincidence. But I feel like I was more trying to like, have like a moral center first, and like as a result of that, like I was more focused on my wife and child.
So we
are going to stop there for tonight because it's like after midnight.
Okay. Yeah. I really want to get to the part where Raditz becomes a Z fighter, but we'll get to that next time.